A little change of program. We would like to welcome Yangila and Janila to deliver welcome remarks. But before that, let us appreciate all the tremendous support in making this event possible at their beautifully designed and artistically decorated home. And as for Yangila, I would like to say that Yangila was born in Tibet, and like many other thousands of Tibetans, Yangila has been forced into exile under difficult political circumstances in Tibet. Yet despite the challenges, Yangila has managed to make it very successful in the United States on account of a grit, determination, hard work, an incredible sense of charity, compassion, and sense of service to the Tibetan community and the Tibetan people. And for over more than 3 decades now, Yangila has contributed immensely to the promotion and preservation of Tibetan cultural heritage in the West. She has tirelessly, generously, and selflessly contributed much of her time, energy, and monetary contribution in organizing many such Tibet events, including countless visits of His Holiness the Dalai Lama to California. And Yangila's love for Tibetan culture is evident from her incredible collection of arts and antique items from not only Tibet, but that of different countries in South Asia. So we would like to thank Yangila and Jerila for not only supporting the promotion and preservation of Tibetan cultural heritage so far, particularly for helping the Tibet Fund in organizing our event at your beautiful home. Thank you so much, and let us all applaud and appreciate Yangila and Jerila as we invite them to deliver the welcome remarks. At the same time, I would like to acknowledge Jerila, who is the husband of Yangila, for always encouraging and supporting Yangila in all her works for the Tibetan community. Thank you.
I think after that welcome, we have nothing to say. I'm going to turn this over to my beautiful wife, since she's a better speaker than I am.
Oh, no. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming over here. And I know the traffic is bad. I'm sure you have a family entertaining, engaged with some other thing, but you sacrifice a lot today. Thanks for coming. I just want to tell you that I was born in Lhasa, and I came out in the early 1970, right after the Cultural Revolution, went to TCV, Tibetan Children's Village. I studied there. In the early 80s, I came to the United States. And with my own experience, personal experience, that the Tibetan, we get so much contribution from the West, and that's how I was able to raise and get education, and until I graduated high school. So the Tibet Fund is very important for me. The Tibet Fund is helping for many children and homeless and Tibetan medicals and poor Tibetans around the Himalayas. So I support Tibetan funds very much, and I hope you will do the same thing. And thanks for coming.
Thank you.
I don't have a lot to add to that, except that we're happy that you're all here, and that you can contribute whatever you can. We've seen a lot of you already contribute cash and checks, and we just want to add our name to the list of contributors.
Oh, thank you.
Bravo.
And we're happy to support you all and have you help support the Tibet Fund, which does so much good for so many Tibetans. Thank you. Okay, now we introduce the important man.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Yangila. So it's my great pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to this special evening to celebrate Tibetan culture. And we are really blessed with the presence of Khensu Rinpoche, Professor Sepala, and many eminent Geshis, who have been here this evening. And I believe that they have been making significant contribution in promotion of Buddhism, as well as promoting the Tibetan Buddhist culture of peace, non-violence, and compassion. And among us, we also have prominent Tibetan scholars, including Professor Tezu Dojila, who is also the chair of the bipartisan U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. We have here also Professor Tezu Nubala, and also many Chinese and Vietnamese friends. We really appreciated your presence here. Thank you very, very much. In fact, I know that many of you have been supporting the Tibetan cause for a number of years, particularly during a time when we are experiencing the darkest period of our history. As you may know, that Tibetan civilization started sometime in 127 BC, at the time of when the first king of Tibet was enthroned, King Yaditsempo. And then we had 42 different religious kings. And soon after that, Tibet was disintegrated. There was no central authority ruling over Tibet for almost 400 years. It was long, long years. And then gradually, with the occupation of Tibet by Mongol Khans, Tibet once again became unified under the control of Mongolia. And sometime in 13th century, the Mongol prince Kublai Khan decided to offer the entire territory of Tibet to Sakya Chögyepapa, who ruled Tibet, him and his dynasty for almost 100 years after that. So fast forward, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who was enthroned as the spiritual and temporal leader of Tibet in 1642, and we have had successive Dalai Lamas who have been ruling over Tibet and Tibetan people for almost 300 years. And His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama decided that now he should devolve all his political authorities in 2011. Since then, His Holiness remains not only the spiritual head of the Tibetan people, but a supreme leader of the Tibetan people ever since then. So for the first time in Tibetan history, for over 2,000 years old, Tibetan became homeless. Tens and thousands of Tibetans, flee their country in 1959 when the communist China occupied Tibet. And I remember that His Holiness the Dalai Lama once said that when we came into exile and sought refuge in South India, so in South Asia, so he said, at that time, we had only acquaintance with us is the sky and the earth. But nevertheless, under the vision of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, we have been able to promote and preserve the Tibetan religion and heritage and our culture with the support of international community, that today not only the Tibetan people are enjoying their best of their cultures and religion, but even the Tibetan culture is being appreciated and also benefiting many parts of the world. So, but once again, we believe that there is a new critical situation the Tibetans are facing today. It's simply because of the advanced age of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who is now already 84 years old, and there is uncertainty and fear amongst the Tibetan people, as well as many of our friends and supporters. We really do not know what the future lies ahead, the Tibetan people. But nevertheless, we believe that the continued support of Chinese people in particular, and also the international community, the Tibet issue will continue to thrive, and issue will be resolved during the lifetime of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So that is our hope and our prayers. So having said that, I just wanted to introduce the Tibet Fund, which is the oldest and the largest Tibetan humanitarian organization that is helping almost the entire Tibetan refugee communities in South Asia. So with your support, we have organized this event this evening. So we are hopeful that you'll continue to support the Tibetan people and the just cause of the Tibetan people, and also the humanitarian needs of the Tibetan people in the coming years. We will soon be presenting some of our works through our videos, and which will give you little insight into the works that we do. So with these words, before I present the memento to our generous and compassionate host today, I would like Kungala to translate in Chinese a little bit, so that many of our Chinese friends who are here would understand what I have said.
谢谢罗桑主席啊。我把刚刚那个罗桑先生讲的大意呢，跟各位报告一下。今天就是6月15号，我们在洛杉矶这个地方呢，举办主要一个小型的募款参会，主要是，今年是2019年，西藏人，1959年在西藏发生抗暴事件之后，到了印度整整60年。 所以在过去的60年当中，在达赖喇嘛的领导下，藏人如何保护了西藏的宗教跟文化？所以西藏宗教保护西藏宗教跟文化方面取得的主要成就的原因之一，是因为主要看国际社会的支持。所以今天在这里，我们非常高兴有那么多的人参加，尤其更高兴的是。 在洛杉地区的汉人朋友，为了支持西藏宗教跟文化，参与的时候跟外国人参与、跟各位华人参与的时候，对我们来的感受就不一样。所以这一点我们非常珍惜。所以罗桑代表呢，刚刚再一次感谢各位今天的前来。那今天我们在这里，除了各位华人朋友之外， 我们还有那个开苏仁波切，罗桑参加了。那开苏仁波切就是藏语，那开苏就是如果我们套一句中国大陆的话，就是方丈。那苏就是前方丈，就是甘边寺那个北佛学院的前方丈，就是开苏仁波切。还有我们2位的教授，一个是美国宗教自由委员会的主席，那个周哲典的导师。 还有我们那个天津南部的 professor， 所以今天有这样的一个机会呢，我们内心感到非常的高兴。那刚刚罗桑先生也介绍了那个英吉小姐，因为英吉小姐是一个在美国地区非常成功的一位西藏女性。她的先生呢，跟那个结婚之后，他们的生活一直是非常的顺利。 所以上次我们提到这个那个募款参会的时候，杨吉小姐告诉我们，何必要租外面？何必要租场地呢？不如举办在我这边。所以我那个发邀请函的时候，我说在洛杉地区一位西藏的别墅里，就是这个原因。所以今天各位能到这边，我就心里感到非常高兴。再一次代表我们所有西藏基金的同仁。 感谢各位。 那杨静小姐的话，如果她说来故事的话，就非常长。以前我们同样在拉萨地区长大，那个时候他们很照顾我，那个时候我年纪很小，所以今天有这样的机会能够再一次到这里聚边，那再一次感谢各位。那西藏基金是1981年成立的，那它的主要业务是在流亡尼泊尔跟印度的流亡藏人社区里面，在宗教文化、卫生、教育里面，我们主要推动保护这些的工作。所以再一次感谢各位的前来。那我等一下有很多其他的节目，那我把话讲到这里。再一次感谢各位，尤其非常感谢我的老朋友陈伟敏先生，也是非常著名的艺术家。谢谢陈先生，还有很多我们的朋友，谢谢各位，谢谢。
Now we request Yangila and Jerila to come here, and President Lobsang Yandala will present a memento of appreciation for all your help and support to the Tibet Fund. Thank you.
那今天这里那个场地，我们的饮酒都是杨静小姐还有她的先生杰里在负责，所以为了代表我们所有在场的人，感谢他们，我们准备一个小小的一个礼物。礼物虽然小，但是它的代表的意义非常重大，所以请杨静小姐到这边来，杰里 ，please come here。我们大家掌声鼓励他们两位，好不好
The light here is better, yeah. There we go.
My God, so many photographers.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're happy. You are the ones that do all the hard work.